And I can instantly recognize that, like,
Welcome, Jonathan.
well, thank you, Todd. What came up for you today?
I'd like to say first, if I may, that I'm extremely grateful to be completing our Kauai recordings.
Oh,
For this now. As we're going to be traveling back to Canada tomorrow, and we'll be resuming these remotely. But, just how grateful I am to have begun this process and put together a group of recordings while we've been here on Kauai, and it really is amazing. So thank you, Mama Kauai. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Creator.
Right. And thank you as well, Tom. This is a great project. I'm very excited about it. And it's definitely by your inspiration that it is in its stages that it is. Very joyful opportunity for me to have this discourse, and it's and I love the sharing of it, that we can sit and have this conversation, what's most passionate to us in our lives, and that then it becomes available for other people. And to have this beautiful space in Kauai to participate in this.
This studio apartment. Comes together. Thank you. And you're welcome. And all I did was follow my intuition and said, you and Jonathan should get together once a week and just chat and see what comes of it.
Yeah.
I'm grateful I did. So thank you for saying yes.
You're welcome.
And then expanding it to twice a week. So what happened? What came up for me? So this coincides with our discussions about where I feel humans being is going, and that's about, as soon as I closed my eyes to meditate, it was vulnerability. Share vulnerability. And for me, there's been a couple things come up. One about some arrangements to purchase a vehicle that happened for me that really highlighted some areas of attachment for me, and then also just leaving this space that is another home for us brings up some sadness. Although we're excited to go back to Canada, the energy, the vibration, the people, the surroundings. Beautiful Mama Kauai is an amazing place to be, and is another home for us. So as much excitement as there is to go back to Canada and move into the springtime there and start some new projects, there's some sadness there. So just honoring that process. So the vulnerability and working with things that are specific and come up in my life and your life and everyone's life, because these things happen. There's things that cause emotional reactions for us. Many moments of every day. And as I've become aware of it, there's a lot more than I thought was really going on. So the interesting one was I opened my eyes. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then I was, you were taking some time, and I thought, well, Todd, you just close your eyes and just be with it, So I closed my eyes, and immediately I'm shown that by being vulnerable and allowing that out is an act of basically like I was showing all my entrails being taken out of my body and washed. So it was like the message, the words were like, all those things that you can't digest are cleared out when you allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Wow.
And then it was like, open your eyes and get back into it. Like Jonathan will be ready soon. So my eldership is feeling rather pushy today, which they can be, if there was something that had come up to add on there, that's where I'm at. That's what's come through for me. Excuse me. So what about you?
Yeah, for me, it was love. And being that you bring up vulnerability, that is a very big issue for me regarding love. And the expression of love and the receiving of love. I find that I really feel that I'm not allowed to love openly as much as I would like to normally. Like the way that I see and feel myself as this is who I am. I am a very loving individual and a very tender individual. However, I feel that in the outside world that's not allowed. And so this weekend I was at a festival regarding singing, and I'll just put a little plug in for it. It's Singing Alive. There's 3 of them now, one in Oregon, one in the Carolinas, and one here on Kauai. And it's all about raising the vibration through song circles. And it's not someone up on a stage singing out to everybody else. It's someone in a circle getting everyone else to sing with them. Mm-hmm. And there was a process we went through, which is called an angel wash, where everybody stands in 2 lines facing one another. And then from the beginning of the line, people walk between the lines, and a song is sung to them about how they're being beheld as beautiful and a child of the earth and the sun, and may they receive this divine love being washed over them, and may they allow that divine love to watch over them. And I found that I had to be very vulnerable, right, in giving that kind of love, as well as receiving that love. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't really thought of it that way before. And now with you bringing up vulnerability, and I was instantly, like, love I was like, well, I want to get settled, kind of clear my head a bit and check in with that. And then ardor came up. Mm-hmm. And that's just another aspect of loving someone, and vulnerability. What am I afraid of? Afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of having my guard down, get caught empty-handed, or without the requirements to meet what that vulnerability allows in the realm of love. And so in that angel wash, I was so thankful that I had the opportunity to deeply open myself to divine love and share that with 100 people. I just thought that was the most beautiful thing, and that it was a very powerful medicine for my friends and neighbors.
Yeah, a couple things. When you mentioned love, I often go to that highest form of love, agape, an unconditional love that flows to us from Creator in all moments. And that for us to really, truly be an extension of that, but to truly be, as we've talked about here before, be that small C creator, to just extend that agape that Creator extends to us to another being, and or a group of beings or a situation, and how that can require vulnerability. like you say, you know, to put yourself out there as someone who just, I mean, I'm in such a place of joy when I can just come from that place of unconditional love and do it easily. And, you know, as you say, you can have some reservations about, you know, doing it in public, you know, is my words, you know, because I can feel it as well too, you know, sometimes if I can, but sometimes when I can choose to just go with the flow and just respond in a loving way, it's beautiful and free flowing. Oftentimes, though, I can really get in my head about it and think, if I just express, you know, to this, you know, beautiful being who happens to be male that he's beautiful and I love him, is he going to think I'm coming on to him and I'm gay? You know, I get
Yeah.
this shit going on in my head, you know,
Yeah.
creating this fear, which doesn't, you know, or I think like, oh, if I express this to a female, oh, is she going to think I'm coming on to her? And I love if someone sees me, they think I'm flirting with another woman. What's my wife going to think? What an asshole husband I am. All this self-deprecating shit starts to run, you know, and I recognize there's zero truth in it. When I come from that place that is just pure love, it can sometimes be misinterpreted, yet if I'm setting it in the energy of connecting spirit to spirit, it's always held in that space.
Yeah.
You know, and whether someone on the ego level is misinterpreting it, you know, really on soul to soul, spirit to spirit, definitely essence to essence, it's understood and it just is. And, you know, I also recognize that give each soul what they're willing to receive. You know, I was in Kauai juice this morning getting a kombucha, and there was two younger families that were here, you know, vacationing on the island, and they were getting some of the little bowls of quinoa and stuff, and the husband of the two wives and a couple kids and young families, early 30s. Two husbands walk in, and wife says, "Oh, I'm going to get, you know, some of these for lunch." He said, "Oh, I thought we were just going to get tacos on the beach." She goes, "Well, I don't think there's a taco truck there." You know, and he was really, you could tell he was really pissed about it, you know. I could sense there was just some energy between the two families being in close proximity, traveling together, that they were maybe grating on each other a little bit. And it felt like this was just a reflection of deeper things that were going on about being pissed off about not being allowed tacos for lunch.
Yeah.
So then the other husband comes in and he hears this news. He doesn't really say too much about it. Then he goes into his diatribe with his wife about not feeling, just feels like everything she's coming at him with is accusatory. He goes, "I'm leaving." And he walks out. And I'm standing there and I'm getting two kombucha for Andrea and I'm thinking like, I really want to like intervene and try to like be the peacemaker. I was like, "Todd, I think probably best in this situation is just extend unconditional love. Just allow that agape that flows from Creator. Allow yourself to be that vessel and just flow it outward."
Yeah.
And so my highest self has given the husband who walked out a big hug and tell him that, you know, he's important and he's worthy. And, you know, giving the wives a big hug, you know, my highest self to their highest self as well. And, you know, the other husband who's sad about his tacos. Anyhow, both husbands leave. It's just the two women's there, and I could sense like a bit of like at least they're outside, you know, like maybe we can settle a little bit. And the opportunity came, I just turned and I went, "Oh, so what beach you guys going to?" I said, "Oh, we're going to Tunnels Beach." I said, "Oh, beautiful, you know, great spot." I was like, "Well," I said, "if you do want some tacos," I said, "do you know Honolulu?" So, "Oh, no, we're going through it." I said, "Oh, yeah, just if you go to the beach in Honolulu, in the parking lot, there's a taco truck called Pat's Tacos. And it's really amazing food there." And they're like, "Oh, great. We'll stop there on the way back." And then the husband walks in, who was pissed off about not going for tacos, just as I was telling him about the taco truck. You know, and then he is, you know, his spirits are buoyed, you know, from the story about Pat's Tacos. And, you know, so it was an interesting example for me that, you know, like I can be vulnerable and be that healer that I know myself to be, and that one who wishes to, you know, be an extension of peace and joy and agape.
Yeah.
and an abundant source of that. That reminder to just be gentle, that barky walrus side of me that just wants to like, boom, get in there, that warrior that wants to like stop the fight, solve the problem.
Yeah.
In that moment, just to be able to let that aspect of my being take a back seat, just extend that love, that beautiful unconditional love that flows to us from Creator, flow that outward.
Yeah.
And then look what happens. 2 minutes later, as the dust settles a little bit, there's an opportunity to have a conversation. Because as you know, and as probably viewers are beginning to know it, I love to talk and share. So the opportunity to do so is very much cherished by me.
Yeah.
Just remembering that less is more.
Right.
This has been a big one for me for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Just that and that element of discernment. Knowing that just ask and you'll know exactly what is the right step in any situation.
Yeah, I oftentimes find myself in similar circumstances where I think, oh boy, I know the answer to their problems right now. Well, I can see it. I can see the writing on their faces, and I have the solution. However, I'm without an opportunity to give it. And then when I stop, or let's say recognize that here I am preparing this mode of dealing with somebody else's life, and then I go, okay, well, where is my opportunity to share my life with these people that are in my life already? And when I come from a place of giving rather than solving, well, then the door opens, and I'm able to just give freely rather than being focused on that thing out there that needs fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And so then in my own personal time, then I'll sit back and I'll look at that issue again, and I'll say, well, what part of me was out there that I needed to fix? Where's the conflict in me that I still need to have settled, that I think I need to go settle it with someone else?
Mm-hmm.
Where is it here? And in that line of sharing, I was at a spiritual gathering a week or so ago, and there's a young man there who we have so very few young people at that group that it's like the only one
under 60.
Yeah, basically. No, I'm there. And I'm under 60.
Well, I know. Everyone besides you. I apologize.
But and I recognized that my head was all caught up in adult-child relationship rather than another human being at this circle. And then when I went to that place, just treating him like everyone else, then I went into sharing my life with him rather than asking him questions about his life. And I have noticed that when I ask him questions about his life, the questions that come up are like, how's school? Well, he's homeschooled, so it doesn't go to school. So that question's out. How's the weather? Well, that's kind of empty, Yet when I turned it around and I just shared my life with him, then the conversation opened freely, and it was very fruitful. And I recognized that it was vulnerability that allowed me that kind of interaction with them.
Mm-hmm.
That I, instead of having a power position in the situation, I allowed myself to be vulnerable and say, well, I'm just going to share my life with him, and if something comes of it, something comes of it, rather than holding a position where he might feel that he has to respond. Whereas if I ask him a question, then he might feel that he's obligated to respond.
Hmm.
So then I just turned that around and said, well, here's what I'm doing. This is what I did the other day. You know, he said, oh man, I love hiking. I went for a hike in a certain area. He shared with me how much he loved it, and he hopes to go there again, and it really just looking on that and seeing how the difference between being vulnerable and sharing versus being in control, or holding a space in my mind that I'm in control. So we're never in control.
And I think, for especially what that's bringing out for me is that relationship between someone who's older and someone who's younger, that we can't be vulnerable. We've got to keep stiff upper lip, show this kid the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, the kids see through all of our shit anyhow.
Yeah.
And they're just sponges. So if we're putting on a mask, they can see the whole act of us slipping it on, that we don't even see anymore. So to never pull the wool over a kid's eyes, or a young being, I say a young being, they're an eternal being just as we are,
They in the universe.
Yet they've chosen, the timing at which they've come into this incarnation, has put them at a younger age in the way that will delineate it, And I recognize within that role that, we accept, just with Sage, that I accept the role as, that he has chosen to be a child in this relationship, and I've chosen to be a parent, and we've chosen that for each other as well. And there's something to learn from that. Me talking to him in kiddie sort of jibber jabber, or like endeavoring to mimic his soundings or tonings, like just diminishes them. I prefer to ask, like, what does that new sound mean? What are you endeavoring to articulate to us? And allow that wisdom to flow to me in whatever way that happens. I feel like being vulnerable around children, feeling like we have to always have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
We were sitting the other night on Saturday night having a beer, and we were joined by a friend's son who's 16, and he brought up a word, and I didn't know what he meant either. What was it, Don Gata or whatever, the road-like reflection of the moon on water?
Yeah.
But anyway, I came out with it, and I was thinking, oh, what's that? And you just outwardly just said, like, I'm not familiar with that. What is it? He said, oh, it's a road-like reflection of the moon on water. I was like, that's really cool. And I was like, good on Jonathan for just saying so. Rather than endeavoring to bullshit it, like, pretending that he knew, or trying to like change it around to something that you think is similar. These are all things that I've employed in the past.
Yeah.
When I don't have the fortitude to just say, actually, I'm not sure what that is. Could you explain that to me? So the vulnerability, not just in love, but whenever we're without the knowledge in that instance, people love to help other people.
Yeah.
If you ask openly and honestly for some assistance with it, there's very few people that are actually going to slight you for that. And even if someone is, this is about being what you truly are.
Yeah.
And how can you be what you truly are when you're pretending to be something you're not? I've recognized that with my sister-in-law, who is without the ability to hear. And, sometimes because of my facial hair, she has trouble reading lips. So rather than I could tell, there was some times where I'm saying something that she's just like nodding to or saying yes, but it's really not something that would be a yes response to it. Just sitting there like, what if we just wrote stuff back and forth if we're going to have a more in-depth conversation? And we were working with some healing practices. So I wished to be clear in what I was articulating, and she wished to hear it clearly, or for it to come through to her clearly. So we just chose to write, and it was powerful, and just like letting go of that bullshit feeling, that awkwardness, of me not hearing her, or her not understanding me, and us carrying on like we did.
Yeah.
It just feels so fake.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel like truth. It doesn't feel inherent with what we truly are. So, can we all be real and admit that we don't have all the answers sometimes,
right?
And just accept that vulnerability and allow that vulnerability.
Yeah, I love it, especially when I started cultivating her. I see children as very wise in their existence, that they carry wisdom, and it is until they start living by ideas that they've learned, and the more that they learn, the less that wisdom is available. Mm-hmm. And I also noticed that children are very keen to energy and to anything that has like a signature of energy to it, and oftentimes this is regarding people's fears. And so I came to a point of saying, I'm going to be honest with younger people in regards to my fear, rather than lie to them or try to control the situation to cover it up. Mm-hmm. And so I was using a space, a community center space, hosting a group, and the daughter of the coffee shop owner from right next to the community space comes in and grabs a skein of yarn and starts playing with it. And I just surrendered, and I said, I'm really scared right now. I'm afraid someone's going to come over and yell at me for that yarn being moved. I'm afraid that my dad's going to come in and punish me for allowing this space to get disrupted. I'm afraid that the community members are going to say that I wasn't able to control this child behavior. And I voiced all these little fears just real quickly, right? And she looks at me with this little smile and smirk on her face. She goes, "It's my yarn." What led to those fears being expressed is that she came into the space, and then it was in a controlling way. It was like disruptive. Everyone's now paying attention to this young girl, and now she's manipulating stuff, and I've got to be in control. And so my program starts running. Well, you tell her that this isn't her space to be in. You tell her to put that back, and you tell her, and I said, no, I'm just going to be honest. I just put my hands up and stated all my little fears and just put them out on the table like cards. There's my hand. And she's like, well, it's my yarn. Like, oh, okay. And then she left.
It's amazing the triggers for that stuff that we hold on to so deeply.
Yeah.
Like when I hear you saying that, very similar stuff can come up for me. And that feeling like I've been a bad boy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get in shit. I'm responsible. I'm to blame. All these control mechanisms, the fear, the blame, the shame, let people down. Are they going to think of me? I can't even run a group at a community center, and be accountable for the space that I rented for.
Right. All the stuff that we hold on to. Mm-hmm. It's in our muscles. It's in the way that we hold our face. It's in our brains. It's in our electrical chemical system. It's all in there. And it's who I say Jonathan is. That's part of being Jonathan. Well, Jonathan's new today. You know, I had like a trillion new particles in that last moment appear at the quantum level. I had like 1,000,000 new cells come alive today. I've had all sorts of new experiences today, even though they may have seemed like experiences I had before. You know, I used a weed trimmer today. I've used a weed trimmer a bunch. However, this was the only time that I used the weed trimmer today. It's the only time I used the weed trimmer this season, this period of this season. You know, like all these things. This is all new. I can make it blasé if I want to, and that's being in control. Saying I already know what it is. I've already learned that. I've already experienced it. There's nothing new for me in this. My thoughts were running while I'm running the weed trimmer, and I was like, Jonathan, why don't you just experience what's happening? And so I just went listening, even though I had ear protection on, because this monotonous sound of the weed trimmer could damage my eardrum. But just listening and seeing. I saw the biggest stake bug I've ever seen, and it was gold like straw, and it seriously looked like a piece of grass straw. It was so awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And how many individual 12-second moments did you have that were completely brand new with that weed trimmer as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, are we vulnerable enough to open ourselves to all of those new moments? Or is that fear of losing control to override that vulnerability? How many moments does that happen to you in a day?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a great rhetorical question to, reflect upon.
Mm-hmm.
How many individual moments each day do we allow our preconceived fears and notions about what it is we're doing to control us and override any vulnerability that might allow for something new and beautiful and expressive?
Yeah. And it's
likely more than a few.
Yeah. It's that vulnerability that allows for new opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing more and more every day. Such as hitchhiking rather than riding on a bus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know I can ride on a bus. I have the $2. I can go pay the bus fare, get on the bus. It's going to where I want to go. However, that's me being in control. And so there are plenty of times that I've hitchhiked here on Kauai, and I meet the most fascinating people that are deeply interested in what I'm doing on Kauai, especially tourists. Tourists like picking up hitchhikers, I have found. And it like adds to their excitement.
I love picking up hitchhikers because you meet some really interesting people.
Yeah. And being vulnerable, being like, and hitchhiking is recommended against in most areas due to health and safety concerns. I understand some people have legitimate statistics behind these health and safety concerns. However, that's a docket of information about the past, and the past is past. That's why they call it past. You might as well put the past in a pine box because it doesn't exist anymore. It's not living. Regardless, I find certain opportunities in vulnerability. How long are you gonna wait? What if the guy picks you up is crazy? Or the woman who picks you up is crazy? I had a guy pick me up and he says, first thing out of his mouth in a very, very aggressive tone is, "You're not gonna hurt me, are you? If you try to hurt me, I'll kill you." And then he gives me like a 30-minute dump on how pissed off he is and how he doesn't like the people who, north the people of the, northern part of the island, North Shore people, all this anger and aggression and everything. And then I was kind of like, wow, I don't know, maybe this guy might try to hurt me, And anyway, he gets through all that, And then he goes on to discussing the emotional body and how the emotional body wants to express all emotion. That's what its job is. And if it only gets to express love, then it's depleted in these other areas, and there becomes, conflict and resistance. And it's just, every time we freely express our emotions, we regain a piece of ourselves. And so that's part of being vulnerable as well. Just that this emotion is coming up and letting it be. There's a difference between emoting onto others,
Yes.
and allowing an emotional expression to occur. A lot of people will say, well, this is my right to be angry at you. I call that aggressive violence. And there's a difference between being angry and being outwardly violent towards someone. And violence doesn't have to take the form of contact, physical contact. A lot of people are very verbally violent or violent in their posturing. And so, there's a big difference between emotion and shared emotion versus outward emoting onto others. But vulnerability is such a massive topic of like how it comes to play in our lives. And I think what it really comes down to is recognizing that I'm always outside of the realm of control. And that I am vulnerable to a myriad influences, plethora, just from every direction, something could happen to me at any moment. Then I'm absolutely and completely vulnerable, and there isn't anything I can do to protect myself.
Yeah, I just hearing you remember that it was in the late 90s, that Boz Lerman sort of spoken word sort of song piece that, it's Wear Sunscreen, it was called, and one of the lines,
I'm not familiar with
one of the lines in it, he says, worry, and then worry that know that worrying is as effective as trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubble gum. The real things, that will cause challenges, are those things that, are going to, blindside you at 4 p.m. on some idle Tuesday. You can't worry about something happening to prepare yourself for it. You have all the tools we require. And, I'm hearing that line that I've heard Michael Beckwith say that I really love, is that God doesn't call the qualified, God qualifies the called.
Yeah.
So know that if you're asked to do something, if you're met with a certain situation that you don't feel you have the tools, that you're without the tools required to be with that, then ask what else is possible here. Know that you're aligning with those. You are aligned with those. It's now a process of unfoldment.
Yeah.
So that trust. That brings us to a beneficial time around the 45-minute mark.
Okay.
What do you feel is required to bring us to completion?
Well, I feel that there isn't anything required that will bring us to completion.
I have a feeling there is.
For that our completion is already by design. I would like to recap a mahalo. In this endeavor of human being here on the island of Kauai, in the land of Hawaii. Thank you to your family, to your presence, to your sharing, and for this growing opportunity between us.
Well, you're welcome. And I said all the glory up. And I say thank you, brother. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. For this joint venture that is amazing to just be an expression of joy. As you said at the outset of today's recording, it's in our hearts to give, and it is what we are about. What a beautiful opportunity to just sit and talk about it, share about it.
Yeah.
About being,
Right.
And honoring that beingness within each of us. So, yeah, so vulnerability, being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And love.
So if you've joined in, thank you.
Most grateful. We know you're all amazing, as we're all amazing. We love you all. I say aloha. See you soon.